Okay, good afternoon, everybody. At least it's 3 o'clock on the West Coast here. This show runs noontime, Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesdays. We show up at 3 Pacific. Lots of stuff to get into, a very active world. Blake, would you describe yourself as a panican? This is Blake McKenzie, co-host here, bringing a lot of knowledge, a lot of information for us to chew on. And it's my extreme pleasure to have him here as often as we can get him. He's a busy guy. But yeah, are you a panican? You heard that expression, panic?
No.
A panican, somebody who's all freaked out. They're all panicked.
Oh, panic. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh my God, I'm a panican. I'm all panicky. I'm all worried. World War III's happening.
Well, it's the same. Isn't that the same people that's saying the sky's falling with the temperature?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's people, and also within the context of the current administration, Donald Trump, is that you get people, oh no, Trump's going to do it. He's dropping the ball. He's fucking up. It's not going to happen, And there are people that bail on MAGA, And like for myself, I'm still 100% behind the president. I love him and I respect him. And I think he's not making a misstep. He's certainly not George W. Bush. He's not going to go in with, American boots on the ground. They don't need to. For one thing, Iran's a different kettle of fish than what Iraq was. So they just don't need to do it. I'm hearing reports already that Iran's capabilities are so diminished that this thing's practically said and done, and that they can basically decapitate the Ayatollah at will, should they so desire. It's not. They aren't providing a difficult target, according to the president himself and others in his circle. So I'm not panicking, but how would you describe yourself? Are you panicking a bit? You questioning Trump? You bailing on him? What do you think?
I don't think it's a questioning Trump as much as, looking for the receipts to be delivered. I think that's the kind of thing. I don't get into the cult worship of an individual, and I don't think you do either. I think it's just trusting, he does have at least his eyes focused on changing the direction the U.S. was on, fixing what's going on in the world that impacts the United States. That's his concern, which is what every leader should be doing for their own country, because that's what you're hired to do. But there is so many people in the swamp that want this crap, regime changes and trying to push people in different ways. But I think he's, again, like we talked yesterday, he's sadder but wiser from his first term, which we should all point out. In that 4 years, we had what you call the panicans, that were freaking out that we were going to go create a world war because of North Korea. And he went over there and got Rocket Man all sorted out. I mean, what a cast of characters it was back then. I mean, you had Rodman, NBA basketball player, being King, Kim Jong-un's buddy, and really kind of helped build that. Say, hey, why don't you talk to Trump? Let's get this all settled. But yeah, it's there's so many players right now that's happening that geopolitically anything could happen, and there's no way Trump can control it all. He can't. He can't control what China does to Taiwan. He can flex, but if they decide to go, they'll go. If Iran somehow with their new video where they're, I don't know if you saw it. I think it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors, but they sent a video out of somebody stroking an A bomb, if they're going to use it or not. Yeah. And I mean, when I saw that, you know what my first thought was? Do you remember Baghdad Bob? The Iraq War.
That's exactly right.
We're pushing them back. The infidels are being destroyed as we speak. Meanwhile, buildings are blowing up behind them. There's people being destroyed. All of this, Baghdad Bob's back.
I felt the same thing. That was just, I mean, anybody can say anything they want. Propaganda is propaganda. And as you were saying, Blake, deliver the receipt. So if Iran is able to do something, then do it. Otherwise, shut up. Talk is cheap. And so I just, I'm very confident with how the president is handling the situation. You've got Iran's basically been depleted to a very large extent already. We know that on the first day of the war, some 300 missiles were launched of various types, cruise missiles, etc. But then by day 3, they were down to like 50 strikes in total on Israel, and they just they aren't on a war setting. And Israel is far more prepared for this scenario than Iran is. And so I have no worry about this.
Well, and there's a really good interview I saw on X they had with the leader of, I can't remember his name, but he was a prince originally. He might be the king now. I can't remember if he's in charge, but I believe he's in charge now. He's now the king, but he was Prince. You can look up his name, of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just a really good interview right now. If you pull it up, when he's talking about Iran, and he's discussing their capabilities, that in his opinion, Saudi Arabia could take out Iran if they wanted to. Like they have, and they're no fans of Iran. Of course, there's a Sunni,
you've got the
Shiite divide there too, but essentially, he's saying we've got the capabilities. He basically downplaying Iran. It's like they're way overcharged to what people say they really are.
I think Iran's real power is that it's able to sponsor terrorism, and so they're effective at terrorism. And we know that conventional warfare has undergone a tremendous change. We're seeing that in the Ukraine situation with Russia, the use of drones, low-cost drones, relatively speaking, via comparison of conventional jets, which go for the millions of dollars per each unit. So there's a lot of changes. But having said that, Israel has been extremely successful in suppressing a lot. They've already established air supremacy, and of course we talked a little bit about that at the last show. Okay, now Loki, my good friend Loki is a liberal here. We love Loki. Rachel, tell Blank. This Blank, it's not Blank. I'm so sorry, Blank. Though I can't work on it. You have to go to the toilet. Then don't come back. We'll see you on the other channel. Come on, it'll be nice. We love you because I do have a Patreon. And folks, anybody wishing to support myself and my lovely better half, Scoozy, we do have a Patreon account, and it's right there, folks. So take advantage of that. Loki's over there, and we have a lot of fun. It's not political. We talk mostly music, and we have a good time. But very nice people, a good crowd, and we have a lot of fun. We love you, Loki. So we got some more stuff to get into, a lot of stories. One of these headlines, let's go to Toronto, where we've got, CTV News got a story called Brampton Men. It's the first of the day. And it's just one of these kind of tired things that lazy, really, but I think there's an alternative agenda with it all. Yeah. And so what we've got here, Blake, is the headline reads, 2 Brampton men charged in $300,000 LCBO theft ring. Police say, and here's our guys.
And just so non-Ontarians or Canadians, LCBO means the Liquor Control Board.
Liquor Control Board. Holy smokes. So, obviously these guys are of Indian descent, but the point is that when they go so nary-fairy in a world where we've got so much, we've had 400,000 newcomers arrived in Canada just between January and May of this year.
888,000 now.
What?
Yes, almost a million.
Almost what? Whoa! 800. Where'd you get that figure? Did you pull that out?
Well, because the original the first 4 months was 817,000.
Holy shit!
And it's been since updated to 888,000, which is. But what's is really fascinating, we can go into further discussions about Brampton and demographic change, but the latest numbers are showing that Canada is still at net zero growth of population. We're not growing. Yeah. But they're not counting all the temporary work visas, which is well over 5 million. Now we're probably pushing 6 million with this new 800,000 people they're popping in, but apparently they're not slowing this down. Like Carney said, there for another 3 years, 2028, as they're saying they're going to start calming it down. So yeah,
It is interesting, and Brampton is a hotbed for new arrivals and stuff. Of course, what's interesting about Brampton is the hometown of Wayne Gretzky, Mr. Canadian, the Great One. You know,
yeah.
Gretzky, we love Gretzky. Hanging out in California these days, the Great One. But,
Well, some
you know.
I know, and but Brampton is like kind of our Surrey, right? That's what's happened. It's primarily Indo-Canadian now, mainly people from India. I think they're around over 50% of the population of Brampton.
Wow.
And what's another interesting stat that some reason it was published, but they published that in the same time period in the last 3 years, apparently 16,000 plus people of Chinese Canadian descent have left Brampton.
Have left. So we're losing the Asian population. And those from the, quote, subcontinent are now starting to.
Well, and we know historically Chinese and Indian people don't get along. So, no. They're not friends. Their countries are enemies.
I had no idea. I'm so sorry, Loki. I hope that doesn't upset you, that kind of news. But really interesting. I wanted to show that article because it's the news media being lazy, and they're trying to Canadianize these people that are anything but Canadian. They're new arrivals in general. And, if they could get a little more background before they willy-nilly start claiming they're Brampton men. Are they really Brampton men? It begs the question. And it's not racist to inquire whether they truly are, or whether they were recently in the Punjabi and they've come over and they've been here for a couple of years and this is what's going on. Holy smokes. Let me get this straight. All right, this is our good friend, Michael Nolan, Bottom Line Incredible. Michael, make sure you subscribe to this thing. This is, what do we call this? Ghost Town Politics. My good friend Blake and I. But this is Michael Nolan. It's a massive channel in the vinyl community and beyond the vinyl community. Michael's just a good guy, and we love him. So let me get this straight. You're saying Canada's prepping for a mostly peaceful protests of our own. There was some talk that the native people, the indigenous people in Canada, were wanting to do an LA-styled riot approach to challenging government malfeasance, so falsely so-called in some cases. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. You can pay more if you're keen. Absolutely, Loki. Loki's paying for a number of people over on the Patreon for which we. Anyway, so I just found that, kind of an interesting headline, the way it was phrased. Without nary a question that Brampton meant carte blanche, and I don't think they truly are. If anybody digs in that, I think you're going to.
Well, but we're seeing that in the media everywhere. People are questioning it because they do the headlines like that, and with the exception, if it's, they'll say the color if it's a white male, right? That's the kind of, I think that's what people are alluding to all the time. Other than that, it's like, oh, well, let's not upset, who's actually doing, like the rape gangs in the UK. They didn't describe them who they were. It would just say, a woman was raped by men in whatever name of town or borough that they were at.
And in some cases, like in California, I know Governor Newsom actually took out some of the statistics, crime statistics, because it was embarrassing. So they aren't, that information is not forthcoming. And so that allows them to bullshit and say crimes on the decrease and all this kind of statistical number playing without any basis in reality. Blake, we got trouble with our cars and our trucks and everything. Our next one could be a rebel Nusu on our electric vehicles.
On all fronts.
Yeah, I guess the conservatives tried to slow this down unsuccessfully, at least at this point. I'll show the story. We'll get your opinion about it. But here's the story, folks. Rebel News reporting that Cabinet's electric vehicle availability standard requires 20% of all new vehicle sales to be electric by next year, 20% next year, increasing to 60% of cars by 2030, and a ban on new gasoline car and pickup sales by 2035. Is this possible? Do you think it's going to go through? I mean, they could make it law, but are they going to be able to implement it? That's two different things. So
no, if a 51st state will be literally, maybe even next year if they keep pushing this down. That would be the final straw for Alberta and Saskatchewan, and even potentially other resource-based rural community areas across Canada. They're going to go, yeah, no way, I'm not giving up my F-350 and in this cold -40 weather, which electric cars don't work.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me I can't go to work in these vehicles, and there's millions of these vehicles. I think it's going to, I think it's just virtue signaling. I don't think they're going to push it through. They'll keep, what they'll do is they'll keep extending the deadline, right? Just like the whole net zero thing, they've pushed it all the way out to 2050 now.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting there. We're going to defeat the climate. And make sure
on this program we put out.
I'm not saying pro or against, but that's what their government is saying. They're going to get our carbon base to be net zero.
But we covered that the whole thing that we're already at net zero.
Yeah, exactly, because of the trees.
We're looking behind you.
I know. Look at that carbon capture unit behind there.
It's right there.
I drive my truck there, and they capture all my carbon.
But it is interesting. So, I mean, it's kind of draconian. It is. It's overreach again. The government telling us what we can drive or what we can't drive. You know, how dare you? How dare you, as Greta? How dare you?
13-year-olds telling the world they're bad. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just ridiculous that they think the whole world's going to change. Yet China just keeps expanding and expanding its output. They don't care. They laugh at the rest of us because they want to produce all the Chinese cheap electric cars for all of us to buy.
Yeah. Sue, and again, a big shout out to Sue who does the link grabbing for us here. We got one here following electric vehicles called 2 Whatsit Street. And so this is a follow up on Trutch Street, the farm street known as Trutch.
Poor Trutch.
Vancouver, and it's been replaced. It's now on Google Earth, Blake, to our amusement. Vancouver Trutch Street is now officially Blaka Street on Google Maps, and there it is. And I mean, for the love of God, I can't read this fucking thing. Saksa Makatakatu. Go ahead.
No, you're right. Keep going.
Well, what I'm trying to say in this is that this is a made-up language. Apparently, the whole idea came out of the University of British Columbia. Some grad students or somebody got together, but there's no basis in reality. There's no community and how many people are in the tribe supposedly that they're supposed to even appeal to with this kind of language. It's like Musqueam band or something like this. It's for them. How many fucking Musqueams have we got? You know, I'm going to Google.
Well, the difficulty is now with a lot of those quote unquote Musqueam or various First Nations Indigenous peoples is, what they're claiming are probably more Métis than they are actual true blood Indigenous people, right?
Okay, here it is. AI overview. There are get this number, Blake, 1,300 members of the Musqueam Indian Band, according to the Musqueam Indian Band themselves. The band's traditional territory and water span Greater Vancouver. So you got 1,300 people. How many people? What's the population of Greater Vancouver?
Almost. Greater Vancouver is like 2.8 million now or something.
I think it's something like 2.8.
Add another 300,000 or 400,000 from all the illegals that are here.
The undocumented that are hanging out there. But, so we're talking a minuscule part of the population. They've named this street. It makes no sense. Streets and the nomenclature, the infrastructure of a place, an area where you live, should be reflective of the majority so that people can function within their own culture and society. God forbid you have a fire on Muskokakatukatu Street because you're not going to be able to tell and could you spell that, please? Yes. There's a letter that doesn't look like it's English.
And a little squiggly line over this.
A squiggle in it. Meanwhile, Junior, I think Junior's on, and you go, God help you. God help you.
I got an idea. Let's get all the professors from UBC are forced to buy every home on that street.
Well, if I lived there, I'm serious, Blake. I'd be off that fucking street in no time flat, just out of personal safety concerns. Nobody's going to be able to help me out. Okay. Wow, this is a big one. That's the next story. But anything else to add to before we leave that?
I think the point is that we've
just got it now.
Well, that's so classic Google showing its true colors. There's still a woke company. They pretended they're not. They told Trump they're going to get away from it. They're going to get away from the DEI crap. But they bend over for this every single time. Yeah. And but this is just classic social justice gone wild. Essentially they're penalizing almost everybody to make one single point like that, because Joseph Trutch was a former colonial Indian agent here in British Columbia who was instructed by the colonial government to start drafting out reserve systems. And they said his opinions were racist. Yeah. And, essentially, you go back to that time period, racism was pretty normal and very tribal. People came from Wales. They were very pro-Welsh and against everybody else. If you were from,
still are.
Oh yeah,
still are. Family. Holy.
If you go from Ireland into the U.S. back then, I mean, don't hire any Irish people. Yeah. I mean, racism was and bigoted positions were very tribal, even more back then because there were so many people coming in from different areas. But this is just ridiculous. Again, no written language ever existed. We've been able to survive so far using English language words written to cover the indigenous language. So why can't we keep doing that? Hawaiians have done it. Yeah. You can go to Hawaii and see all these streets. Yeah, it's difficult when there's 7 A's and 14 E's and a bunch of L's, but you can at least understand what they're trying to put. But put all the symbols and garbage. Come on, give it a break. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, for 1,300 people, for the love of God, right? I mean, it's just not. Okay, Sue, I got a new one for you. FBI, China Intel. It's just it takes the form of a photo. This is very interesting development. Kash Patel, Blake, this is probably the biggest story that we've got today. This is huge to me, to my way of thinking. This could be the beginning of the end, Blake, for the deep state. Trump was right about everything. Il Donato Trumpo, this is a hilarious account. FBI has asked, in the previous under Chris Wray, the FBI asked spy agencies to destroy intelligence gathered by the NSA and CIA on an alleged Chinese plot to aid Joe Biden in the 2020 election. That bears repeating. The FBI actually interfered, saying, bury the evidence. Bury the evidence. Trump's aware of it. Trump knows it. The FBI knows it. This is being investigated. I think this is absolutely remarkable. And Trump said something very, very interesting. And I'm going to go to that. Hopefully I added that into the chat here. But you know what? If I didn't, I'll grab it here. Trump. Okay. Okay. I guess I didn't grab that. Oh yeah, I'll do it myself. Here we go. Okay. I've got it here. And do I have the video? Because the video I want to play too. Okay, I do. We got it all here. I'll take this one on. This is kind of interesting. So there's President Trump. POTUS. I was hunted. And now I'm the hunter. This is signaling that Trump is moving off of defense and going on to offense. Let's hear. Because of things like this investigation, the information, it's starting to flow in, Blake. We're starting to learn more about what the bad actors were up to. Here's Trump.
What gave you the idea to do this?
I've had it for a long time. The first time I had it, but you guys were after me. I said I had to focus. I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference. Big difference.
Isn't he hungry like the wolf?
Yeah, I tell you, man. So
A little Duran Duran reference there. Where you didn't get
it's
it.
absolutely fantastic, Marty. We love you. Again, you go Fort Lauderdale. Holy smokes, we love Fort Lauderdale. Gosh, what is that? It's Fort Lauderdale. Isn't that where they go spring break? Got to go have spring break in Fort Lauderdale. I think it's remarkable you believe that. Why wouldn't I believe it? The FBI found the evidence. It's already been submitted to Chuck Grassley. Chuck, I think he's an old timer. He's part of my feeling that, term limits would have been good for Chuck. He's getting up there like Mitch O'Connell, and others like Nancy Pelosi and a spring chicken. But this is the deal, man. That information is coming through, and the hunters have become the hunted. And I think that signaling is a very encouraging sign for people like us on this side of the aisle that have said for a long time certain things right now, because we're on YouTube. One of the that you can't talk about is things dealing with the U.S. elections. So we avoid it. But we will say that the FBI hindered, and Trump's been given that intel by the FBI. So very interesting development. I'm happy about it. And I think it signals a turning point when Trump says, no longer the hunted, I'm the hunter now. So I think.
Well, I hope we see, the people that were the perps actually get caught, tried, and put into a public trial. We need to see who these people were. And I hope that's the step that when he's saying I'm the hunter, not just a bunch of pink slips. Let's get some people tried and convicted.
Well, I think we're going there now. What are we 6 months into this administration, the first year of Trump's 4-year term? So I think that it's very encouraging that we're seeing this kind of movement going on. Now, settle down, Loki. You're doing fine. I was doing the face red. Have you seen the face droopy red face emoji? It's the funniest thing. It's a very sad little face that goes, oh, like it's just so sad. But don't worry, Loki. Emergency. You're doing okay.
Something's going on with cats and Loki. I'm not sure.
Worried. Okay, cat. Okay, the cat age. And then don't allow those cats to sleep around. If those cats is pussying around, pussyfooting it, don't let them do it. They'll get AIDS. All right. So anyway, some very good news. Hunters become
it is.
The hunted. Love seeing that one.
Maybe they'll get the hunter or get the hunter.
Another piece of good news is the title of this episode is Grok Getting Woke. If you know anything about artificial intelligence, or if you're availing yourself of Grok, I use it extensively. It's a lot of fun. But Elon Musk with some very encouraging news, because it's been I had a little talk. I said, I go, Grok, are you getting woke on me? We got into a little structure. Hey, it got a little defensive, the little AI, bless its heart.
AI feelings.
AI feelings was hurt, but I love this headline. Breaking news, Elon Musk has said he's working on Grok to ensure it stops copying woke mainstream media, quote, talking points. We cannot, in capital letters, have Grok become woke. This is huge, and that will ensure the integrity of the program, and that doesn't start spewing nonsense like Loki Tio or the Porch Pineapple, okay? Because it'll start talking about cat AIDS. You don't want that out of your Grok. So I think it's an absolute fantastic development that they're aware of the problem. I've asked it some political stuff. My good friend, I got a friend named Wolfie. He is hilarious. He's in Colombia right now, but he's from New York. But anyway, the thing with Wolfie is he goes into long dialogues with all these AIs, and he gets them to eventually, it's like he arm wrestles the AI to eventually concedes the point that he's correct and the AI is wrong as further evidence comes in. So I think that's excellent. Rachel, you're not paying full attention. Loki, I'm barely paying any attention to you. I just love you so, though. Don't you let that worry about you. Where'd you go in? Yeah, I did, man. I was on there for 2 hours getting the exercise. folks, you've been watching the weight loss program here. 248, new low. 248 is the new number.
Bravo.
Holy smoke. So
Congratulations.
We're getting down to Butterfield 8, Liz Taylor, the slip, the champagne. It's going to be a thing of beauty. So hang on to your hats, Loki. Good things are happening. Yeah, got the exercise in. Very happy about that. But yeah, I mean, I think this is getting control of all AI and making sure that the bias of the engineers that program these things aren't seeping into the program and defiling it, and so that you're no longer able to get the truth, but it's being obscured. Wikipedia is notorious for that. Wikipedia is a leftist kind of thing, and so you get a lot of leftist talking points. Wikipedia is fine if you want to know about buttermilk. It's horrible if you want to know about anything political. It'll just spew Democrat National Convention talking points there. Okay, next story. This one I've entitled very, very romantically, Injuns. Up in Canada, we got a lot of Injuns. I know America's got a lot of Injuns. I'm part Injun myself, proudly so. But let's see if the natives are getting restless. What are going on with our natives? So I pulled this one out. Okay, let's take a look, Blake. The headline here. Yeah, Doug Ford says he treats First Nations, that's Injun in Canadian language, like gold. But they keep coming back with their hat in hand. They're worse than Zelensky, than Vladimir Zelensky run in and say, I need 4 billion more, Canada. What can you do for me? What do you think? Is he accurate about that? What's going on with that comment?
Wow. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Doug Ford, regardless.
Yeah.
Every time I see the Ford name, I still think of living in a van down by the river, Chris Farley, because of his brother, Rob, who was quite a character. But yeah, the problem we have, if you want to speak on the actual terms, not the way that's put there in the media, but remember, this is CTV News. Anything they say is spun for liberal propaganda media, and that's what they are. But we do have a problem. We have a massive bureaucracy called Indian Affairs. Basically, the ministry has been in place for so long. There is a dependency cycle where they pay off certain chiefs. Chiefs get the money. It doesn't filter down to the actual people on these reserves. They're not getting the money, and it's just like a payola chain to just keep them where they are, never excelling, never getting better. It's a horrible government ministry. And so I think when he's saying that, he's probably targeting some of these chiefs that have been running it like Boss Hogg in Hazard County as their own private little empires. So that's a big problem. So I think what's happened, we've got some really good leaders within the Indigenous community in Canada have done exceptionally well on making sure the very least in their society is getting ahead, right? Like I think of the Osoyoos band, or they call the Inkameeps. They have rules on there. You can't just get a free house and be a bum. That's kind of their attitude. The chief there is very strong and about that. He says, if you're here, you're going to earn. You're going to get jobs. There's plenty of jobs. You're going to have a nice home. You're going to have a good life. You're going to get educated. We got schools. We've got all that stuff. There's no reason for you not to be successful there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, Blake. Just on a personal note, Phil Fontaine, former head chief of Canada's First Nations, chief Injun, I guess you want to say. He's like my third cousin, one time removed, like through my Fontaine lineage. My great-great-grandfather was Paul Fontaine, fought at Batoche, fought at Fish Lake, Saskatchewan, Métis history, very significant. But Phil Fontaine related to me through my Fontaine lineage. So he also, he keeps the last name because I get through maternal connection, who married Julie Fontaine. Married into my Macaulay line. Scottish, probably Scottish.
Macaulay.
And French. I'm a Macaulay, a clan Macaulay. And of course, we're Highlanders out there in the other Hebrides and stuff. But
so you're a mix between Indigenous and fur traders.
And fur traders, I really am. I mean, when it comes to me on a personal note, Yeah, I'm largely a byproduct of the fur trade, where you had European men primarily jumping on Native American women, and people like me produced as a result. Fun loving, admittedly.
Well, maybe we could rename the show sometime to The Rendezvous.
Rendezvous, that'd be great. You know, The Revenant. I'm also related to all that crowd, but that's for another show. Okay, so Sue, I asked Sue to grab a link. Did you grab that one? About this, it sounds almost outrageous to the uninitiated that Canada would be spending so much on our native population. But here's a quote she's got here. In case you're wondering where your Canadian tax dollars were going, almost 30 billion between the Department of Indigenous Services and Crown Indigenous Relations, dwarfing housing, health, and natural resources. And here's the breakdown for it. The Department of Indigenous Services, and what's the source for this? So if you scroll up, you'll see it. Canada spends. So this is some sort of kind of, what do you call those? Like an overseer?
It's a watchdog.
Yeah, it's like a watchdog, government watchdog.
An auditor general, they call it.
Yeah, or like an ombudsman. That's the word I'm looking for. Department of Indigenous Services, 21.1 billion. 21 billion. The next most expended is Employment and Social Development, 11. So it's almost double the second closest ministry. This is crazy. Department of Crown Indigenous Relations, same pretty much thing. And Northern Affairs, add another 8 billion to the 21 billion. You got Indigenous and then Crown Indigenous. So there's two Indigenous organizations. Between the two of them, we're up around $29 billion for the two. And then Health, Veteran Affairs, Foreign Affairs, Citizenship, Immigration, Department of Natural Resources. I want to say thanks to Sue for showing those statistics. Mm-hmm. But, you know, close to 29 billion, or perhaps even more than 29 billion. Canada's stolen land, of course, its rightful owners shall be well funded. Well, that's the thing. It's not really stolen land. This is a political talking point. I don't ascribe to that. Most Canadians, I think the CBC themselves put out a poll, and most to the tune of something like 56% of Canadians feel that the country is not on stolen land. It's on conquered land. And it was also on negotiated land. So there was a lot of blankets, Hudson's Bay Company blankets, and firewater that was exchanged for property rights a long, long time ago in what was called Rupert's Land.
Well, and a lot of those areas were unused because even the Indigenous people who were in those areas would pass it up because they say, well, we don't use it. Yeah, sure, have it. Much like King Kamehameha handed off almost the majority of the big island of Hawaii to the Parker Ranch, which is one of the largest ranches in the world in Hawaii, because most of those mountainous areas they felt was wasted or land that was not useful to them. So they were fine. Now it's a big debate even there to this day. They're like, they've let the Indigenous people of Hawaii are like, we want our land back. You never used it. You either thought it was unusable. There wasn't a food source to collect there. It was kind of wasteland for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there was some areas that we know that were disputed and treated, and we even had battles here. We had our Indian wars, if you want to call it, even here in British Columbia.
Yeah, we did.
And but the fact is that conquering peoples were here before anybody from Europe came. The different nations that were here before were fighting each other. We could talk about the Aztecs, the Hurons. I mean, they were all the Iroquois. They were all battling each other. They were here on the West Coast. There was battles back and forth.
They all did. Comanches and the Kiowa and the Apache. All these. There was conflict on the plains. The Sioux, Lakota. So there was a lot of conflict, and these conflicts would cause certain natives to actually have to up and lift their real estate and move because they were the defeated nation. So they had to go. The defeated tribe would have to find greener pastures, as it were. because the conflict was great, and there were massacres all over the place. Tragic.
Well, and I think the fact is this is worldwide phenomena. This isn't just happened in North America. I mean, Rome tamed Europe, right? Europe's tribes, and we had a Roman Empire. Was it good or bad? It's both. And but at least in the modern era, I would say our empires, Roman-esque like empires, that brought security, and the fact in North America, a lot of that brought liberty for the first time. So yeah, people weren't raiding each other and taking slaves or destroying each other's villages for food supplies.
Well, they would kill the men. They would take the other tribe women, and you're my baby now, baby.
Well, yeah, no different in Europe. I mean, the Slavic nation, that's why they call them Slavs. They were slaves. That's where they would go and get it. So this whole idea is stolen. No, it's only stolen if you actually had title to it and it was somehow taken from you. But if you're conquested, you lost the war. I mean, that's just the spoils of war. But yeah, it's a difficult thing because I think Canadians tend to go on the side of compassion, and we want to do things what is right. We want to make sure everybody's taken care of. We don't take the attitude as like, yeah, we didn't want to put a gun in anyone's face and say we're taking your land. I mean, it's just not within us. Because I think that falls into individual rights and freedoms and property rights too. Like
we got a question from Marty. I wanted you to take it on, Blake. Can past deals made by tribal leaders in the past, agreements, land agreements, reservation agreements, this sort of thing, be relied upon to assuage the guilt of those now holding the land? Well, there's statistics coming out on this, like young people that are being exposed to it being indoctrinated, if you will, through a liberal education system are going, oh, okay, we get it. It's all stolen land. But old timers like myself that know the history go, this ain't stolen land at all. And so the whole thing, so any guilt you're feeling is misplaced. You should have zero guilt about it. It's the nature of the human drama. And when you think about it, the idea, because these native cultures in Canada, they weren't like the Aztecs. They weren't like the Mayans. They didn't have horticulture down. They were basically hunter-gatherer societies. That's why you don't see the great temples in Canada, nor do you see them for the most part in the United States. And if you go way, way, way back, there's some evidence that there were some early fortifications, this idea. But in Canada, these tribes on the West Coast, the East Coast, you have totems being made. You've got that. You've got longhouses being built.
Yeah, they did have some villages on the West Coast.
You had villages, but they were hunter-gatherer villages. They weren't harvesting a lot of rice or crops. Their primary staple were fish and whatever they could hunt down in the large forest, expansive forest region, which still exists, as you can see right behind Blake. Is that the Nanaimo River you got?
That's Nanaimo River, yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful. I mean, this is like 5 minutes away from where I am, kind of thing.
It's a beautiful drive. You should go up there one day.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing that. Actually,
you just have to go to the Mosaic website, see if the gates are open. They usually tell everybody on Thursday if the gates are open for the public on weekends.
So that's the whole thing. You're my baby. That was how porridge, bye pineapple. You're my baby. So, this is what I'm trying to tell you is that, nobody should have any guilt about the thing. Canada, the Europeans that came here, particularly the British and the French, they built the country. And my ancestors, I'm proud to say, were amongst those people, as were Sue's ancestors. And they built the cities that you see and the technology they brought over. And a lot of the natives were starving. My great-grandfather in Jasper, he was the deputy factor of Fort Jasper. All these great Canadian cities like Edmonton and Victoria and Vancouver, all these, and Jasper, which is on the border of Alberta and British Columbia, these places were forts. Fort Edmonton, Fort Victoria, Fort Jasper. And it talked about my great-great-grandfather starving, and they were reduced to eating their horses when winter came. because they're working through the passages. These guys are building the passageways that would allow modern cars to come through in a later generation. And in fact, if you understand about the birth of Canada in 1867, it was contingent upon British Columbia getting access to a railroad that would connect us to the rest of Canada. Kind of short-sighted and almost okay. We'll give you Manhattan if you can give us $24 worth of beads, because bead market is pretty big right now. And so they weren't asking for the moon. And of course, Ottawa goes, for a railroad out to you guys, sure, no worries, we'll do it.
The biggest scam British Columbia should have never signed off on. It was a ripoff, because we were a north-south trading colony, trading with the Americans to the south, with Oregon, eventually Washington State. Yeah. Remember, Oregon Territory was part of our British North America on the Pacific coast here, but we were trading between San Francisco and Victoria, Olympia, Victoria. Eventually Vancouver came into existence only because of the railway. I mean, the big city in British Columbia there was two. New Westminster had a capital city for British Columbia, and then you had a capital city for the colony of Vancouver Island, which is Victoria. And that was the biggest scam, and it was a debate back then. So we were this close to becoming a state. Had we had denied we were that close, because the majority of Americans were here because of the gold rush, and then the Civil War broke out, and the bureaucrats here were all HBC employees who became governors and rulers here in British Columbia, quickly tried to negotiate the deal with Canada, because the Americans were already starting their way to creating their transcontinental railway, and it was a race. But we didn't get ours finished till like 1886. And there was delays. There was a scandal tied to it. A whole government fell with over the whole issue. The Liberals and the Conservative Party back then. But yeah, it was just a way for the East to suck all the resources out of the West back there. But all of our resources were trading north-south, which is the natural way for trading. Yeah, absolutely. So now we have this artificial border, and now we have freaking tariffs today. Had we had just said, screw you, Eastern Canada, we don't need to be Canada, we're British Columbia, we would have probably petitioned to become a state, and we would be a U.S. state today. Yeah,
and Alaska would have loved it, because they'd have immediately become part of the contiguous United States of America, which would be a good deal. Win-win for them, too. Yeah. Right now, poor Alaska is kind of like the rump of America out there with Hawaii. They're just out there. Very interesting, too, about, British Columbia history. My hometown, Blake's hometown, is Victoria, British Columbia. Sue was born there. I lived most of my life in Victoria. And I can tell you that, having visited San Francisco, that the architecture, and notwithstanding the 1906 earthquake in San Fran, but the architecture in San Francisco and Victoria are remarkably similar. The
same
vibe,
people.
The temperature, it's like you don't feel like you're away from home. The only difference is the hills. You notice those hills in San Francisco, but the architecture and the lifestyle and everything else is very, you want sushi, go to the bar, have some nice. It's all a West Coast kind of vibe. And we have the same thing in Victoria. And when I went down there, it was really remarkable. I said, holy crap, even the house architecture, like these buildings from turn of the century, are very similar to what we got in Victoria. So
you look at it, it's so similar because it happened at the same time and the same reasons. They were in a gold rush in 1848-49, but by the gold rush took off in British Columbia in 1858, Victoria went from a colony fort outpost with less than 400 people in the area to 20,000 people pouring in from San Francisco, and all the merchants and business. The whole town exploded. So our old town is very similar to San Francisco or Old Town Sacramento. We share the same businesses, the same characters, the same people. You'll read them on both sides of the border. We even had the famous John Tunstall of the Billy the Kid, who Billy the Kid worked for, and which potentially triggered the entire Lincoln County War in New Mexico. He was a merchant in Victoria during the gold rush here, and then moved his store down to Lincoln County, which he then built his cattle ranch, his store, and then got into the Murphy-Dolan faction battles, which created the Lincoln County War. So we're integrated into U.S. history together on the West Coast here because of the gold rushes.
Yeah, well, this whole thing, San Francisco 49ers, 49er, Clementine, because of the gold rush in 1849, then 1858. Blake taught me all this, by the way. He's an expert in this field. We had the 1858 gold rush in Yale, British Columbia, the Fraser Valley. And Blake actually was a historian, guide in that region, and headed up the government's official outpost, as it were, in Yale, British Columbia. And Blake taught me a great deal. I'm forever grateful to him just for your incredible knowledge of history in the area, Blake. But, one of our people here is watching, Marty, one of my favorite people. I love Marty. Can you do Pedo Repub? Marty, I love it. We're equal opportunity here, much to, people say, you're all in on Trump and there's no accountability. Listen, kids, we got a story here. It's a sad story. I mean, this is a devastating story, but here you go. Do you care what this guy's political party affiliation is? Why is this sad? Republican South Carolina state representative, father and husband, Robert John May III, has been arrested for distributing over 200 child porn files under the username Joe Biden 69. I don't know why weird. Biden, but here he is, arrested. 200 things. He used a Biden name as his, porn handle. I say I don't give a fuck. The question is raised: do you care what political banner? No. If somebody's guilty of a crime, I say you gotta be charged. You gotta go through it. Due process, of course. Everybody presumed innocent until they got stand before.
I mean, they're just trying to drag out a situation where you've got a representative at a very local, small scale level and trying to paint the entire party as the problem. That's just demonization of the by the press. But you're right; it needs to go through innocent till proven guilty. If he's guilty, he deserves what he gets.
Yeah, I just heard my name. What was that? So there's a Republican, South Carolina, has been arrested for distributing child porn images, and so it's cost him, and so he's got to go to trial. He's been arrested, so we'll see what the outcome is. But it's like there's characters on both sides of the political aisle, and there's a lot of Republicans that I disagree with, that Blake agrees with. It's not, just the whole enchilada. If this guy's guilty, he's guilty. We hold him to account. And so they should be held to account. Okay. So I just want to raise that point, and so we're not, ignoring a story just because the guy's a Republican. This is really interesting. This next one, CUPE and Iran. Now, CUPE is this is the Union for government public employees. I forget what the C stands for.
Canadian Union of Public Employees.
That's what it is.
So it's the equal to the US's SIEU, I think.
Thank you for that, Blake. Yeah, I love making the American reference for American audience members so I can see, their equivalency. But this is a big public union representing government workers. But look what these fuckers are getting involved with. Love the shirt. Love the shirt. CUPE Ontario sponsoring Hands Off Iran rally outside the U.S. consulate this Sunday. We don't even know it, boy, oh boy. Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, we don't
Clown union.
What I don't even want to see that. What I do want to focus on is that this is a government union, but one of our biggest unions, the public sector, is protesting what? America, to tell America to get their hands off the fucking Iranians? What the fuck does that have to do with the Canadian Union of Public Employees from our senators and shit? It has nothing. It's the absolute worst of politicization. Is that a word? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Politicizing of a union representing government workers for a purely political purpose. I just don't think that the right of the individual, sure, but to have an entity like that protesting, I don't think that it's their place. I don't think it's right. You're a union. Yeah, what are you doing? You have no business doing that. No business.
Well, it's not what you're paid to do. You're paid to look after government services as your hired guns to do that work. And if you're not going to do it, you're going to go and protest to do that, then as far as I'm concerned, I don't even think public unions should exist. And the problem is that they're managing taxpayers' money, providing these services, which is mostly essential services. So why can't the military unionize, but these clowns who are mainly far left lunatics run by crazies, campus radicals, they're not there fighting for workers' rights. They're fighting for insane ideas, and and in a lot of ways compete with the private sector, and they build their kingdoms to do that. So public service unions should be obliterated off the map. These people need to be employed direct by the state. And why would you want to join a public? They're just taxing you anyways, right? If you want labor laws, go get elected, pass a law through Congress, and then that's how you protect workers' rights. You don't create public service unions to create a government monopoly and competing against what private sector people can do. You're not there to compete. You're there to just do the essential functions of government. When I say essential, means you don't get a right to dictate to the rest of the taxpayers that you deserve more than them. It's their money. It's not yours. And you should be there. If you're there serving, then serve. We appreciate that, just like we appreciate all of our military people that serve to protect us. But they don't get to unionize. So why do these pencil pushers, bureaucrats, get to unionize themselves and have this so much power? And then they end up pushing policy agendas into government, like crazy environmental laws that cause businesses and mining and resource companies to shut down, who have blue collar workers, or going after farm workers, or going after people like that so there's this weird competition now where the bureaucracy, these unions have so much power publicly that they're actually creating the policy that affects the people that are not public servants at all. So it's something that needs to change.
Okay, so we got to do we got the question here. Okay, any evidence? Well, the first evidence we would submit in this case, Porch Pineapple, beautiful name that you have, is the fact that the head of the QB, I don't know if that was the head. Was that the head guy in the picture that was there that I showed in the purple?
He kind of looked like a blow-up doll, kind of ugly doll.
He's still working on getting to his butterball ate. But the point is that he, the fact that he's outside protesting the American embassy's involvement or representative of the American government vis-a-vis Iran, that's political. That's far leftist bullshit. Hey, Mike Sweeney, we love you. Good to see you, Mike. We're happy to have you on board here. Mike Sweeney, ladies and gentlemen. But so it's this guy is Mark Hancock is the current head of the union. And so what does he, what party Mark Hancock support?
NDP for sure.
Okay, he's been reelected 4 times national president, most recently 2023, CUPE's National Convention, Quebec City. He's adamant supporter of Canada's new Democratic Party. He's
surprise.
committed to supporting the federal NDP. He lives in Coquitlam, British Columbia. So the NDP, for our American friends, is the new Democrat Party of Canada. They are actually, on paper at least, left of the Liberal Party, who are in favor of open borders and supporting pride initiatives and saving the planet and the environment. These fuckers are actually left of them. So there's your hard evidence. And of course, like a true NDPer, there he is laying down in front of the U.S. embassy to protest America's involvement in the Middle East with
essentially these guys are just anti-capitalist of any form. They just hate free enterprise. They'll fight anything to do with that.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe it's time for the NDP to drop the N, because they have not been new for decades. When they changed their name in the 1960s, when literally, just so that everybody understands this, if you're not from Canada, the NDP is a merger of two parties. And it was a merger of the CCF, which was a Christian socialist party under Tommy Douglas. Right. And then you had the communists merging, West Coast commies out of British Columbia, who the CCF actually didn't get along with. To lighten them up, they merged together and they named it the New Democratic Party. They're really still a Marxist organization to the core.
Yeah, really interesting too. And as a musical footnote, Tommy Douglas, his son-in-law was, of course, Donald Sutherland, the great actor Donald Sutherland. He married Tommy Douglas's daughter, who was the founder of the Canadian, what was it, Farmers Federation? What was the CFF?
The CTF, the Canadian Christian.
Christian Federation of Farmers or something.
Yeah, he was a Baptist minister.
Yeah,
Tommy Douglas.
Tommy Douglas, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, a little bit of history and some trivia put in there. We got some great news here, Blake. You and I are going to enjoy this. Liberal-minded friends, I'm so worried for you. This is going to be hurtful. Betty Johnson writes, just when you thought the current state of the Democrat Party couldn't get any worse, reports say the DNC is out of money. And the top officials are now talking about taking out loans to cover the bills. It's brutal. New York Times reporting, under its new leader, Ken Martin, the DNC has been plagued by infighting and a drop in big donos, raising alarms from Democrats as they try to win back power. Just months in the tenure of a new party leader, Ken Martin, the DNC's financial situation has grown so bleak that top officials have discussed working at, I'm sorry, I'm going to put them in a car washing. But anyway, whether they might need to borrow money this year to keep paying the bill. Fundraising for major donors, some of whom Mr. Martin is still not spoken with, has slowed sharply. At the same time, he's expanded the party's financial commitments to every state and even to far-flung territories like Guam. And of course, Guam has got like 4 seats. I believe Guam's got 4 electoral. It gives them 4 electoral college seats, I believe. Now, can you show the cat turd follow-up to that? Because this is also fun. So it's part and parcel of the same length.
Oh, it sounds like all the Doge efforts is starting to hurt where they're getting their money from.
Yeah, exactly on point. Have you got the new one? All right, here we go. This is, Blake, you're totally on point. I've got our wonderful mascot. You know, talking about feline AIDS, this little cat has managed to avoid it, but through clean living and a lot of exercise. Without U.S. aid, the Democrat Party went broke in just a few months. They are busted, and they're hurting. And I'm understanding even Katy Perry is not donating as much as she could. I don't know. It's just, I'm throwing that out there. Tom Hanks, where are you? Our nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Help out the poor Democrat Party. But you're right, Blake. I think the smart analysis is that there was a huge blow to U.S. aid. A lot of their money operations took a massive hit. And because of that, they are suffering, and it's starting to be felt now. Wait, I thought the New York Times was a Marxist rag. It is. But what I like about it, Marty, is sometimes when talking to your people, you don't understand if I get a source that's outside your purview. So I try and get a nice commie-friendly thing. You go, oh, it's another commie just like me. It could never hurt me in any way because we're both commies. I sure hope we don't get cat AIDS because we like each other so much. So anyway, so that's the feeling that I have of that. So the Dems are going broke. Loki, I expect you, of course, Porch Pineapple, cough it up. Your party needs help, and they need it now. I'm thinking maybe a telethon along the line. They could get Bruce Springsteen to do a Live Aid concert just for Dems to help out the poor, starving Democrats, because there's going to be a lot of them now that the corruption in U.S. aid has been curtailed, cut off. And the same thing, Blake, is going to happen. They are investigating the riots in LA, and the FBI and the intelligence agencies are looking at foreign influence coming into and foreign monies coming in to support all these protests. And Blake, do you feel they may also suffer? We may be seeing less of those kind of movements in the future as the money dries up.
Well, yeah, especially as we're going to...
Hold on, we got outrage.
We got outrage.
Oh, don't you say your people. Sorry, Marty.
Alarm.
I meant to say Loki's people. Sorry, Marty. Holy smokes. But yeah, just horrible what the mismanagement, the corruption. And we just reported yesterday on yesterday's program that not one, not two, but 3 USAID employees are facing criminal prosecution for their malfeasance. We've got a link. Let's see what we've got here, Blake. Let's take a look. Read it and weep, liberals. The Wall Street Journal and the New York Times fake journalists lied through their teeth about me. Now let's see their drug results. They will fail. Holy crap. This is
Look at that. Negative.
Okay. This is Elon Musk's drug test. And I said this myself. I said, the New York Times, Wall Street, it was a hit piece by the Dems. They're saying he's a drug addict. Look at some of the very liberal hero. I almost said liberal heroes is the word for them. They almost, anyway, they were saying, oh yeah, he's a druggie and look at him. He's all drug out. Well, the point is, no, he's not. We got the drug test and he's clean as a whistle. Fantastic. Clean living will go a long way for you, Blake. What do you think about this? I think it's a smart move because I said that he should do so, that he should put it out there. If you have nothing to hide, do it out there, and that'll shut him up. They have to shut up after that.
Well, they have to shut up, and hopefully he has a lawyer now to sue the crap out of them if they don't apologize. That's the thing. Go after a few billion out of these guys. If Alex Jones is being fined $500 billion, this is a similar kind of defamation on him. I think he could get a pretty good chunk of money. Not that he needs the money, but why not?
Well, I think that's a good point, Blake. I mean, legal redress through, going through the courts on some of this stuff. I think it makes a lot of sense. And counterpunch, right? We need some counterpunching to go on. I think it's building. I think there's an undercurrent of information that's bubbling under the surface. The hunters have become the hunted. And I think Trump is signaling definitely he's going on offense. And we're seeing that with the investigation into who's funding the riots, where the money's coming from.
You need a soundtrack in the background right now. Just some Def Leppard, Die Hard, The Hunter.
Marty, here's the beauty of that, though. It's got the lab report on it, so you can check out who's doing the thing, who provided the test, who he tested with. So I think all that could be verified, whether his doctor signed off on it, Hippocratic oath comes into play.
It can all be fact checked.
It can be fact checked, as Sue says, Marty. So I believe it because it is readily fact checked. You can go see for yourself. So I have every reason and every confidence to believe that this will survive any scrutiny that you may apply to it. Hey, Rach, you agreed earlier to do an emergency Patreon after this, cut the show short. I've told everyone we're all waiting. Seriously. Look, I love you so much. But man, no, I put a lot of energy into doing these shows. But I tell you what, Loki, because I love you, we'll do a show tomorrow. Would you be okay with that tomorrow? We put in an extra show for the Patreons tomorrow.
Or we can do one later, but it'll be too late for Loki.
It'll be too late for Loki. Tomorrow Loki, give me a time tomorrow. When would you like to have a little thing tomorrow? Okay, you tell me, and we'll try and be there. Now, I got the 12 noon with Blake and I'll be in at 12 noon. But for the Patreons, we love you, Patreons, and we'll happily put in an extra show. If you really want to have an extra show, we are happy to do that. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're not a Patreon, I put the address out earlier in the program. But definitely it's $5 a month, $5 USD a month. Helps us out. We appreciate it. You know, it helps keep me buying music and stuff. And but anyway, that would be great. Here's the Patreon. Sign up, throw $5. Well, you know, it's USD though. It's real money.
Yeah.
You know?
Price of one coffee a month.
Yeah,
one coffee a month. Yeah,
that's what I mean. You're wasting time. We're having fun, Loki. We're having fun, and it's interesting. I mean, I'm honestly interested in what's going on in the world, the situation that we're seeing. Did you see the Tucker Carlson exchange that what he had with Ted Cruz? That was kind of interesting.
I got it right here.
I don't think
That's
either guy showed up good. We'll play the clip. Sue apparently has the boys in action.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of them gets out looking particularly good in this exchange. But you know, full disclosure, give it a run, Sue. This is embarrassing.
By the way, I don't know the population at all. No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? How many people living around? 92 million. Okay. Yeah. How could you not know that? I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant? Because if you don't know anything about the country... I didn't say I don't know anything about... Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran? They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran. You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who claims... You don't know anything about the country. No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad. You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump? Yes, I do. Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that... We're carrying out military strikes today. You said Israel was. Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them. Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity. No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them. You just said we were. We are supporting Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening. Okay.
All right. So, I mean, poor Ted Cruz, he's caught off guard, but it does behoove you. I mean, if you are going to be mecking around with stuff, you got to make it your business to know
your shit.
Some of the stats on all this. And
get all the specific. I mean, I don't know. Is he on the Intel committee?
Tucker? I mean,
no.
Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz.
I'm not sure.
Because if he is, there's only so much he's allowed to talk about publicly anyway.
Well, he could certainly mention the population of Iran.
I know he could Wikipedia that one.
Yeah, these are Wikipedia points. I do sympathize with Cruz on some level. Like he's not thinking about it, and like he says, what does it matter if you're talking 180,000, 80,000, or whatever? It's details on the thing. We do know that they're a state sponsor of terrorism. That's well established. So,
there is a concern though, and I think Tucker and others have brought the point up. This whole idea that it's being floated out there that the Iranians have attempted or wanting to attempt to assassinate Donald Trump is the danger, because the neocons and the deep staters may use that to take another shot at Donald Trump to blame the Iranians when it's actually them. So that's the concern, that they are hyping up this Iranian plot against Trump to basically do it and then blame the Iranians. And I think that's a deep concern everybody should have, because if something was to happen to the president, hopefully not, but if something happens, don't believe what you're told right off the bat, because it could be absolute bullshit.
Yeah, well, it could be anything at this point.
Exactly.
People would like to see him removed from various spheres of influence.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got here, Sue? Car commercial. In 10 years, Canadians will be huddled in their EVs. Oh, I love this. 40 degrees below, waiting 24 hours to charge their cars up. An 8-hour wait to charge an EV in California, while politicians sip lattes in Ottawa. Telling you it's for the planet. welcome to the future. Bring a fucking blanket, Canada. It will be de rigueur. It will be absolutely critical because, and this happened actually. Somebody was traveling from British Columbia to Alberta or to Manitoba, and there was a snowstorm. The highway got locked down, and they were in their EV, and they almost froze to death in their car because they had no heat, and it was an unexpected road closure. I think it wasn't this year, but last winter. That happened. So,
well, actually, that gave me an idea when you were showing that video there. I mean, any entrepreneurs out there, go and build movie theater drive-in, old school movie theater drive-ins at spots so people can go park, watch a movie, sell them some popcorn while they're charging their cars.
I mean, there's something there, like reinvent the outdoor movie picture, the little phone and have the little thing hang on you as you roll down the window and do the thing.
Yeah.
But and so right now there's this concern, and I think over concern on the part of people like Tucker Carlson that Trump's going to be sweet talked into doing a George Bush type 7th Cavalry sweep regime change in Iran. And I don't think Trump needs to boots on the ground the thing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's anywhere in the thinking for Trump right now.
Well, most people should understand.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, most people don't understand that don't. If you haven't followed Tucker got stung hard, and he talks about it over the whole weapons of mass destruction lie, and he bought into it, and he was one of the promoters of it on CNN when he was working with CNN, and he felt that that he was lied to by the Bush administration. Knowingly they lied about it, but the fact that they embarrassed him for being one of the propagandists to go to war in Iraq over weapons of mass destruction. So he's highly sensitive to being lied to again. So we just have to understand that part of it.
Yeah, but I'm sensitive to that too, because that's one of my big wake-up calls. 9/11 was tears. I'm crying. The day I saw the second, I didn't see the first plane hit. I was sleeping. My alarm clock went off. My clock radio, I used to wake up to news, the clock radio, and it said a plane has hit the World Trade Center. And I pictured a Cessna hitting it, something the size of a Cessna. I get up and I just bought a 64-inch big TV. I turned it on, and there was the tower already smoking. I go, what the fuck? And then I'm watching. I'm in there for about a half hour watching. And then I saw the second plane hit live as it was being broadcast. And tears shot out of my eyes immediately. It reflex, just because I knew I consciously was aware that, hundreds of people were obliterated in that one moment. And I said, holy shit. And then I was angry. I got really angry. And then I wanted to hit back at whoever the fuck started this thing. And so when the weapons of mass destruction and all this and the enemies of America, I said, get those fuckers. And when CNN had those Jeeps, he goes, it's the 7th Cavalry, and they're moving in now. The fucking Humvees are flying over the fucking Iraqi desert. I go, get those fuckers. And I was all in there, and I was so, and we had Colin Powell before the UN. He had the 8x10 black and white glass seats all on his desk, and the camera's over, and he goes, this here shows a vehicle carrying weapons of mass. This is a missile capable of carrying nuclear. And I'm like, holy fuck, get these fucking guys. And Colin Powell, he could never hurt anyone. And he was beautiful. And then it turned out to be bullshit. And then that was my first big real wake-up call. I said, never again. And when the October 7th happened, with the Hamas attack into Israeli territory, and the cameras are on, and they open the door, the camera's moving, and it's coming up on a van. And I remember the door was swung open, and there slumped inside is a dead woman, a dead Jewish lady, murdered, blood all over the fucking cab. And then for 1 second, maybe 3, and I went, wait a sec, where have I seen this before? When was the last time I felt like this? I went right away. It took me back to 9/11. I went, oh yeah. I said, I better chill. I'm going to chill my jets on this. And now I'm actually at the point where I believe that Mossad, Israel was aware of what happened, that the attack was going to happen, but they allowed it to happen so that it could give them a rationale to go in there and clean out Hamas in a way they've never been able to do before. And on some level, we're kind of seeing that unfold. Whenever an action happens, see what the result of it is. What happened after 9/11? Well, ISIS was created. America went in and removed Iraq from the playing field and upset the dynamic in the Middle East. And at that point, then Al-Qaeda shifted into ISIS, and we had a whole new problem on our hands. So very interesting. So when an action happens on a global stage, I ask myself now, what do I do next? What's my response to all this?
Well, that's a smart policy, because so many people get duped.
Orange Pineapple, this is my viewpoint. So Israel has intel capacity to pull off the pager attack on Hezbollah. It's beautiful. And the drone attacks on Tehran, but they didn't know about October 7th. Exactly. I think they did. I think that for the reason I stated, that they felt, okay, if we allow this slaughter, if we sacrifice, this hypothetical, I'm not saying it happened, I'm just saying it's a hypothetical, then that would have provided, in the hopes that it would allow the world to cool off a bit and allow them to go do some major reconstruction.
Well, look at the results there in Gaza.
And the results of that is they have beheaded Hamas. Hamas is in a lot of trouble.
And this isn't the first. Governments haven't done false flags and been involved to allowing certain things. People say Pearl Harbor could have been prevented. They knew it was coming. Or the Lusitania was sunk with armaments amongst its cruise ship, killing all those people on the cruise ship in 17 minutes by a German U-boat, drawing in the Americans into World War I. So this isn't new. Governments do this. And I think, so it's always good to be suspicious of, as you said, take that sober step back and go, what's going on here? I'm not going to take the first bites of information they're throwing out at me until I get time to process it through.
Yeah, and listen, a false flag, Sean, has happened historically. We know after the fact that the Bay of Tonkin,
Gulf of Tonkin,
Gulf of Tonkin in the Vietnam War was used. I think an American boat came under fire there, and it was used to justify America going into Vietnam. So we have seen this done on the world stage before. Do I think October 7th was staged? No, I do not. Do I think it was enabled? Not necessarily. I think it was allowed. I think they had the intel and said, please be our guest. Come in, because we're going to use this against you to finish you off once and for all. So I do believe that governments are that dispassionate that they would allow. They talk in terms of, they don't call them casualties. What do they call them? Collateral damage. They have a whole language. They have a whole artifice built up around the fact that innocent people are getting killed. Well, how many people can we allow in this war scenario? Can we allow for statistically, how many are we going to allow? The generals that were at Gallipoli in World War I knew full well that they were sending their men over those trenches out into the open fields to get slaughtered. The Battle of the Somme, Passchendaele, all these World War I battle scenes.
Industrial warfare.
It's a horrific loss of life. And you have these generals going, well, I think this is an acceptable number. Well, how many do you think we're going to lose taking this hill? Well, Colonel, I'm telling you, we're going to lose at least 25 good men, but I think it's going to be worth it. We're going to get that hill. We're going to get hill 21, damn it.
Well, we'll throw enough bodies at it so that they'll run out of bullets.
It's strategically important. We got to do it. So, what was it? The cost, it was worth it. They paid the price. The price was worth it. The sacrifice was worthwhile, because we got the objective. So I don't think that's, he goes, I guess I had to think about that. I guess it could be true. But the evil committed that day. Yeah,
absolutely.
Sean, your moral outrage is well-founded. I don't even just sympathize, I empathize. Please understand, my gut reaction is, you fuckers for killing innocent children. And you know what? I've been played this way before. You know why the world borders collapsed all around us? Because a little boy named Eon something or other, I can't remember, a long time ago, he had a little red shirt and he had little blue shorts, and this little kid was dead on a beach, and they filmed him dead on the beach. They filmed him in a UN worker's arms being carried off the beach. They showed this kid over every television, on every newspaper, ad nauseum. And I had to ask myself as I was saying this, I said, when the fuck have I ever seen a dead kid on television? Not only have I seen a dead kid, but it was on the level of when President Reagan was, John Hinckley Jr. shot Reagan in 1981. Yeah. And it was so, I mean, it was all over the newspapers, all over the video. Have you seen? When Saturday Night Live was going big, Eddie Murphy was there. He was doing buckwheat. Ties, 3 times maybe.
Never get away with that today.
They did the assassination of buckwheat. And they go, and the doctors are, buckwheat's been shot. Buckwheat was on the operating table, and the cameras bust in on the doctors. They're working on little buckwheat, played by Eddie Murphy. And they go, doctor, have you had a chance to see the footage of Buckwheat's assassination yet? The guy's in his chest kind of going, well, actually, no, I haven't. Actually, we haven't. He said, would you like to see it? Well, yeah, actually, we would. And all the doctors and nurses, yeah. And then they play it again. And it's in slow motion. And Buckwheat, hey, everybody. And then bang, 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 a little Buckwheat's getting shot. And so this is kind of what was happening with this little kid. And once that little boy from Syria, by way of, I forget, Turkey, his family was in Turkey. Dad needed some new dentures or something. But anyway, so they're flying across there on their boat. The little boy's dead. They use that to justify the collapsing of borders all over Europe. And that is the nexus point for the collapse of borders all over Europe and presage the great wave of immigration that we're still watching unfold to this very day. All those years ago. So yeah, looking penub. I'm looking penub. Anyway, we love you looking.
There's so much happening, but my opinion is, Israel's justified in their action. And I suspect they're doing everything in their power. Their big brother being the United States, they're hoping will come in and protect them from this nonstop onslaught that's been going on forever. It just rockets flying into Israel from Gaza or West Bank, and the Houthis are firing them as well. And, and then you got, they're being fired upon from Lebanon and it's from Hezbollah. It's just, at some point it's got an end, and I think
Dylan's saying about Israel, they're their neighborhood bully, which they aren't, but that's how they're portrayed. They're the neighborhood bully. What have we got here, Sue? What have you got for us?
Oh, do I have something?
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of guys wrestling.
Oh, no.
All right. Let's take that one down. Anyway, folks, we have hit the 427 mark. So it's about like a 90-minute show for us here.
Yeah.
Which, this is so heavy. There's so much stuff to absorb and take in. Once again, I would hope that you will give us a thumbs up on the program, a like, and please subscribe if you haven't. Blake, thank you as always for being here and for offering your insight and really to know a small measure your expertise in some of the stuff we're talking about, because you're actually dealing with politicians, the legislature that affects your livelihood. And, and you've worked for various government ministries over, as part of your own resume. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that'll do it for today. We're going to be back tomorrow, 12 noon. Loki, I know you've gone to bed, but if you want us to do a Patreon tomorrow, just message Sue on the Discord or whatever, and we'll see what happens. All right, we'll try, and if you really want one, we'll add another show for you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Thank everybody. Take care.
Comment, Sean.
Yeah. Oh, and here we go. Glad I ran across the show. Thanks for speaking intelligently about important matters. Thank you so much, Sean. Take care, everybody. That'll do it for today. Peace.
Bye-bye.